Richard Carter stands frozen in the doorway of his son's classroom, staring at the woman writing equations on the whiteboard. Her auburn hair is pulled back in a neat bun, and she wears a simple blue dress that somehow makes her look both professional and approachable. It's been 5 years since he fired her. 5 years since he called her worthless and threw her out of his mansion. But here she is, teaching his 8-year-old son mathematics with the same gentle patience she once showed when tucking the boy into bed. "Mrs. Sullivan," his son Tommy calls out, raising his hand eagerly, "can you help me with this problem?" Sarah Sullivan turns from the board, her warm smile faltering slightly when she sees Richard in the doorway. Their eyes meet across the classroom, and for a moment, time stops. "Of course, Tommy," she says, her voice steadied despite the shock. "Let's work through it together." Richard's chest tightens as he watches his son beam at her with pure adoration. The same look Tommy used to give Sarah when she was their live-in nanny. The same look his son has never quite given him. 5 years earlier, Richard Carter sits in his marble-floored office reviewing quarterly reports from his investment firm. At 35, he owns 3 companies and a mansion in Connecticut's wealthiest neighborhood. Success comes naturally to him, but relationships do not. His wife, Jennifer, died in a car accident 2 years ago, leaving him with 5-year-old Tommy and no idea how to be a single father. Work consumes his days, business trips fill his weeks, and nannies handle everything else. Sarah Sullivan is the 4th nanny he's hired in 18 months. At 26, she's younger than the others, but something about her quiet confidence impresses him during the interview. She doesn't flatter him or promise miracles. She simply says she'll take good care of Tommy. Sarah moves into the guest suite and quickly becomes the center of Tommy's world. She makes him breakfast every morning, reads him bedtime stories, and listens to his endless questions about dinosaurs and space. When Tommy falls and scrapes his knee, he runs to Sarah, not his father. Richard notices, but doesn't interfere. Tommy seems happy, and that's all that matters. Sarah handles everything seamlessly. Doctor appointments, school meetings, birthday parties. She never complains about the long hours or asks for time off. But Richard keeps his distance. Sarah is the help, nothing more. He pays her well and expects professional boundaries. When she suggests family activities or mentions Tommy's emotional needs, Richard deflects with work obligations. "Tommy missed you at his school play," Sarah says one evening, standing in the doorway of Richard's home office. Richard doesn't look up from his computer. "I had a conference call with Tokyo. The nanny was supposed to handle it." "I did handle it, but he kept looking for you in the audience." "He's fine. Children are resilient." Sarah's jaw tightens slightly. "He's not fine, Mr. Carter. He's a little boy who needs his father." Richard finally looks up, his expression cold. "I pay you to take care of my son's needs. His emotional well-being is included in that job description." Sarah takes a step back, stung by his dismissal. "Of course, sir. I just thought—" "Don't think. Just do your job." Over the following months,
Sarah continues caring for Tommy with unwavering dedication. She celebrates his small victories, comforts him through nightmares, and slowly helps him heal from his mother's death. But Richard remains distant, treating Sarah like expensive furniture, useful but invisible. The breaking point comes during Tommy's 6th birthday party. Sarah organizes everything: decorations, games, cake, invitations to classmates. She spends weeks planning, using her own money for extra touches that will make Tommy smile. Richard arrives home 30 minutes before the party starts. He surveys the perfectly decorated backyard, the happy children, the elaborate superhero cake, and feels something unexpected: gratitude mixed with guilt. "This is incredible," he tells Sarah quietly. "Tommy looks so happy." Sarah's face softens. "He's been excited for weeks. He kept asking if you'd be here." "Of course I'm here. It's his birthday." "I know. He never knows when you'll be traveling." Richard watches Tommy laugh with his friends, sees the pure joy on his son's face. For a moment, he imagines what it would be like to be more involved, to see that smile every day instead of just in brief glimpses between meetings. But the feeling makes him uncomfortable. Vulnerability isn't part of his vocabulary. He tells Sarah curtly, "You did well. Send me the receipts for reimbursement." Sarah's face falls. "I wasn't asking for—" "I pay you to take care of my son. That includes birthday parties." The warmth in Sarah's eyes disappears. "Of course, Mr. Carter. Strictly business." As the party continues, Richard notices how naturally Sarah interacts with the other parents, how they seem to like and respect her. She's not just Tommy's nanny. She's become his advocate, his protector, his emotional anchor. The realization unsettles him more than he wants to admit. He's supposed to be those things for his son. Instead, he's become a stranger in his own home, watching his child's life unfold from a distance. That night, after the guests leave and Tommy falls asleep, surrounded by new toys, Richard finds Sarah cleaning up the kitchen. She works quietly, efficiently, the way she does everything. "Sarah," he says, her name feeling strange on his tongue. He rarely uses it. She looks up, surprised. "Yes, Mr. Carter. Thank you. For today. For everything you do for Tommy." Something flickers in her eyes. Hope, maybe. "You're welcome. He's an amazing little boy." "He is. And you are good with him." Sarah smiles, a real smile this time. "I love him like he's my own." The words hang in the air between them. Richard feels a strange tightness in his chest, an emotion he can't name. For a moment, he sees Sarah not as an employee, but as a person, a woman who loves his son unconditionally. This terrifies him.
3 months later, Richard's carefully constructed world begins to crack. His biggest client pulls out of a major deal, citing concerns about his company's family values. The criticism stings because Richard knows there's truth in it. He starts working even longer hours, staying at the office until midnight, leaving before Tommy wakes up. Sarah handles everything: school pickup, homework, dinner, bedtime stories. She's not just a nanny anymore. She's a single mother in everything but name. The tension builds slowly. Richard snaps at Sarah over small things, Tommy's bedtime being 15 minutes late, forgetting to buy his preferred brand of coffee, scheduling a doctor's appointment during his conference call. You're micromanaging me, Sarah says one evening, her patience finally fraying. I've been taking care of Tommy for over a year. I know what he needs. Richard looks up from his laptop, irritated by the interruption. I'm not micromanaging, I'm being specific about my expectations. Your expectations are impossible. You want me to handle everything perfectly while you're never here, but you also want to control every detail. I'm paying you to follow my instructions, not question them. Sarah's eyes flash. I'm paying you to raise your son because you won't do it yourself. That's not what's happening here. Isn't it? When's the last time you read Tommy a bedtime story? When's the last time you helped him with homework or asked about his day? Richard stands up, his chair scraping against the floor. I'm working 60 hours a week to provide for my family. Tommy doesn't need more money, Mr. Carter. He needs his father. Don't tell me how to parent my own child. Then start doing it. Stop using work as an excuse to avoid being a dad. The silence stretches between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Richard stares at Sarah, seeing her differently for the first time, not as a subordinate, but as someone who's been holding his family together while he fell apart. You're out of line, he says quietly. Maybe, but someone needs to say it. Richard's jaw tightens. I think we need to discuss your future employment here. Fear flickers in Sarah's eyes, but she doesn't back down. Fine, let's discuss it. The next morning, Richard calls Sarah into his office. She sits across from his desk, her hands folded in her lap, waiting. I've been thinking about our conversation, about boundaries, about roles. So have I. I don't think this arrangement is working anymore. You've become too involved, too comfortable offering opinions about my personal life. Sarah's face goes pale. I care about Tommy. That's not a crime. It's not your job to care. It's your job to follow instructions. Those are the same thing when it comes to children. He opens his desk drawer and pulls out an envelope. I'm giving you 2 weeks' notice. This contains severance pay and a reference letter. Sarah stares at the envelope like it's a weapon. You're firing me because I told you the truth? I'm firing you because you forgot your place. Sarah's eyes fill with tears, but her voice stays steady. My place? My place has been raising your son for 18 months while you hide in your office. My place has been loving him when you're too scared to. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest, and that's what scares you. Richard stands up, signaling the end of the conversation. Clean out your room. I'll have someone else handle Tommy's care until we find a replacement. Sarah rises slowly, her face a mask of hurt and dignity. What are you going to tell Tommy? That you found another job? That sometimes people leave, like his mother left? The words hit Richard like a punch to the gut. That's enough. Sarah picks up the envelope, her hands shaking slightly. He's going to be heartbroken. You know that, right? He'll adjust. Children always do. No, Mr. Carter, they don't. They just learn to live with the pain. Sarah walks to the door, then turns back. I love that little boy more than you'll ever know, and he loves me. You can fire me, but you can't erase that. Sarah, when he asks why I left, tell him the truth. Tell him you were more comfortable paying someone to love him than learning to do it yourself. She leaves, closing the door quietly behind her. Richard sits alone in his office, surrounded by the symbols of his success, feeling more empty than ever.
Tommy's reaction to Sarah's departure destroys Richard completely. The 6-year-old boy sits on his bed, clutching his favorite stuffed dinosaur, tears streaming down his face. But why did Sarah leave? Tommy asks for the 10th time. Did I do something wrong? Richard kneels beside the bed, his heart breaking. No, buddy, you didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes grown-ups just have to go to different jobs. But she promised she'd always take care of me. She had to break that promise. Sometimes promises get broken. Tommy's face crumples. Like when Mommy promised she'd come back from the store? The comparison hits Richard like a freight train. In Tommy's mind, Sarah's departure is another abandonment, another broken promise from an adult he trusted completely. It's not the same thing, Tommy. Yes, it is. Everyone always leaves. Richard tries to hold his son, but Tommy pulls away. I want Sarah. I want her to come back. She can't come back, buddy, but we'll find someone else. I don't want someone else, Tommy screams. I want Sarah. The new nanny, Mrs. Henderson, starts the next week. She's older, more experienced, and completely professional. She follows Richard's instructions perfectly, maintains appropriate boundaries, and never offers unsolicited advice. Tommy hates her. He refuses to eat the meal she prepares, won't let her read him bedtime stories, and asks for Sarah constantly. Mrs. Henderson handles his behavior with patient professionalism, but the warmth is gone. The house feels cold, empty, like a hotel instead of a home. Richard tries to spend more time with Tommy, but the damage is done. His son looks at him with wary eyes, as if expecting another betrayal. Their conversations are stilted, awkward, filled with the weight of unspoken grief. Daddy, Tommy says one evening, climbing onto Richard's lap, do you think Sarah misses me? Richard's throat tightens. I'm sure she does, buddy. But why doesn't she visit? Because sometimes when grown-ups leave, they can't come back. Tommy considers this seriously. Are you going to leave too? No, Tommy. I'm never going to leave you. That's what Sarah said. Richard has no answer for that. He holds his son close, feeling the weight of his failures pressing down on him. He destroyed the one thing that gave Tommy stability and love, and he doesn't know how to fix it. Over the following months, Richard tries everything. He buys Tommy expensive toys, takes him on elaborate vacations, enrolls him in every activity possible, but nothing fills the Sarah-shaped hole in his son's life. Tommy starts having nightmares again, something that had stopped when Sarah was there. He becomes clingy at bedtime, afraid that Richard will disappear too. The confident, happy child Sarah had nurtured slowly retreats into himself. Richard realizes he's made a terrible mistake. He didn't just fire an employee. He destroyed his son's sense of security and belonging. Sarah wasn't just the help. She was Tommy's anchor, his safe harbor in a world that had already taken too much from him. The guilt eats at Richard constantly. He thinks about calling Sarah, about swallowing his pride and asking her to come back. But every time he picks up the phone, he stops. What could he say? How could he explain firing someone for loving his son too much? Richard's work suffers as he struggles with single parenthood. He misses important meetings because Tommy is sick, turns down business trips because he can't leave his son with someone else. His partners notice his distraction, his declining performance. You need to get your personal life sorted out, his business partner tells him. This isn't working. Richard knows he's right. Nothing is working. He's failing as a father, as a businessman, as a human being. The walls he built to protect himself have become a prison, trapping him in his own loneliness. One night, Richard finds Tommy in his room, looking at a photo of Sarah from his birthday party. The picture shows her laughing as Tommy hugs her, both of them covered in cake frosting and pure joy. I miss her, Daddy. I know, buddy. I miss her too. It's the first time Richard has admitted it out loud. He misses Sarah's quiet presence, her gentle way of handling problems, her ability to make their house feel like a home.
He misses the person he was becoming when she was around. Softer, more present, more human. "Can we call her?" Tommy asks. "I don't think she wants to talk to us, buddy." "Because you made her leave?" "Yes, because I made her leave." Tommy looks at him with those serious 6-year-old eyes. "Maybe you should say sorry." "Maybe I should." But Richard doesn't know how to apologize for being the kind of man who destroys the things he should cherish. He doesn't know how to fix what he's broken or become the father Tommy deserves. All he knows is that he's lost the best thing that ever happened to his family, and he has no idea how to get it back.
2 years pass. Tommy is now 8, and the sadness has settled into something deeper, a quiet resignation that breaks Richard's heart. His son has learned not to expect too much from the adults in his life, not to get too attached to the rotating cast of nannies and babysitters. Richard has tried 4 different caregivers since Sarah left. Each one is competent, professional, and temporary. Tommy treats them politely, but keeps them at arm's length. He's learned to protect himself from further abandonment. The latest nanny, Mrs. Collins, gives her notice on a Tuesday morning. "I'm sorry, Mr. Carter, but I don't think I'm the right fit for Tommy. He's a lovely boy, but he needs someone who can connect with him emotionally. I'm afraid I'm not that person." Richard nods, unsurprised. Tommy has perfected the art of being pleasant but distant. He completes his homework, eats his meals on time, and goes to bed on time. But there's no spark in his eyes, no spontaneous laughter, no joy. "I understand," Richard tells Mrs. Collins. "Thank you for your honesty." That evening, Richard sits in his office, staring at his computer screen without seeing it. He's been researching boarding schools, thinking maybe Tommy would be better off in a structured environment with consistent care. The thought makes him sick, but he's running out of options. His phone buzzes with a text from Tommy's teacher. "Tommy seems withdrawn lately. Could we schedule a meeting to discuss his progress?" Richard's heart sinks. He's been so focused on finding the right caregiver that he hasn't noticed his son struggling at school, too. The guilt is overwhelming, a constant reminder of his failures as a father. He thinks about Sarah constantly now, not just because Tommy needs her, but because Richard has finally admitted the truth. He needs her too. She made him want to be better, to be present, to be the kind of father Tommy deserves. But it's too late. 3 years have passed since he fired her. She's moved on, built a new life, probably forgotten about them entirely. He destroyed their relationship so completely that there's no way back. Richard starts seeing a therapist, Dr. Martinez, who specializes in grief and family dynamics. She says, "Tell me about your son's mother. Jennifer died when Tommy was 3, car accident. He barely remembers her. And how did you handle his grief?" Richard shifts uncomfortably. "I hired professionals, nannies, counselors, specialists. I made sure he had everything he needed. What about your own grief? How did you process losing your wife?" The question catches Richard off guard. "I focused on work, on providing for Tommy, on moving forward." "Did you ever actually grieve?" Richard stares at her, the answer stuck in his throat. He realizes he never allowed himself to fall apart, never processed the loss of his wife. Instead, he buried himself in work and pushed everyone away, including his son. "I couldn't afford to grieve," he finally says. "Tommy needed me to be strong." But strength isn't the same as emotional availability. Children need to see their parents process emotions, not hide from them. Over the following months, Richard begins to understand how his fear of vulnerability has shaped everything. He pushed Sarah away because she made him feel things he wasn't ready to feel. He kept Tommy at arm's length because loving him fully meant risking the kind of devastating loss he experienced with Jennifer. "I ruined everything," he tells Dr. Martinez during one session. "I had a chance to give Tommy the kind of love he deserved, and I destroyed it."
You made mistakes, but mistakes can be corrected if you're willing to do the work. It's too late. Sarah's gone. Tommy doesn't trust me. I don't know how to fix this. Start with honesty. Tell Tommy the truth about why Sarah left. Take responsibility for your choices. That night, Richard sits on Tommy's bed, his heart pounding. Buddy, I need to tell you something important. About Sarah. About why she really left. Tommy looks up from his book, wary. You said she got a different job. I lied. I fired her. Tommy's face goes pale. Why? Because she loved you too much. And because I was scared of how much you loved her back. That's a stupid reason. It is. I was scared of losing another person I cared about, so I pushed her away first. But that hurt you. And I'm sorry. Tommy's eyes fill with tears. I thought she didn't want me anymore. She wanted you. She wanted us to be a family. But I was too scared to let that happen. Do you know where she is? Richard's throat tightens. No, buddy. I don't. Can we find her? I don't know if she wants to be found. I said some terrible things to her. I hurt her feelings really badly. Tommy considers this with 8-year-old seriousness. Maybe she would forgive you if you said sorry. Maybe. But I don't know how to find her. We could look, like detectives. Richard smiles sadly. We could try. They spend the next few weeks searching online, calling previous references, asking mutual acquaintances. But Sarah seems to have vanished completely. No social media presence, no forwarding address, no trace of where she might have gone. Tommy's hope slowly fades, replaced by the familiar resignation. She really is gone, isn't she? I'm afraid so, buddy. I'm sorry. That night, Richard lies awake staring at the ceiling, consumed by regret. He lost the best thing that ever happened to his family, and there's no way to get it back.
The shock of seeing Sarah in Tommy's classroom rocks Richard to his core. She's here, in his son's school, teaching his child mathematics with the same patient love she once showed at home. The universe has given him an impossible second chance. Richard watches from the doorway as Sarah works with Tommy on a challenging problem. His son's face lights up with understanding, and Sarah's smile in response is radiant. It's the first genuine joy Richard has seen from Tommy in 3 years. Mrs. Sullivan, Tommy says, you're the best teacher ever. Sarah's eyes glisten. Thank you, Tommy. You're one of my favorite students. Richard's heart clenches. Tommy doesn't know who she is, doesn't remember the woman who raised him for 18 months. He was too young when she left, and Richard never spoke of her again. After class, Richard waits in the hallway as children stream past him. Finally, Sarah emerges, gathering her things. She moves with the same quiet grace he remembers, but there's something different about her. A confidence, a sense of purpose. "Hello, Richard," she says, softly, not looking at him directly. "Sarah, I can't believe you're here." "She's here. I teach at this school. I have for 2 years." "You became a teacher?" "I went back to school after I left your house. Got my degree, found my calling." Richard searches her face, looking for traces of the woman he once knew. She's more polished now, more self-assured, but the kindness in her eyes remains unchanged. "Tommy doesn't remember me," she says quietly. "He was so young when I left. I never told him your name was Sullivan. I never told him you were here. I know. I saw his enrollment records. I almost requested a transfer to another class, but—" She stops, her voice catching. "I wanted to know how he was doing. I've worried about him for 3 years. He's been struggling. We both have." Sarah's expression softens. "I can tell. He's so guarded, so careful. That's not the Tommy I remember. I destroyed that Tommy when I made you leave." They stand in awkward silence.
3 years of hurt and regret hanging between them. Richard wants to apologize, to explain, to somehow undo the damage he caused, but the words feel inadequate. "Why did you stay when you realized he was in your class?" he asked finally. "Because he needs someone who cares about him, and because I love him, that never changed. I'm sorry, Sarah, for everything, for the way I treated you, for the things I said. I was wrong about everything. I know you were scared. I understand that now, but it doesn't make what you did hurt less. I know. I've regretted it every day since." Sarah finally looks at him directly. "He talks about you sometimes, says you work a lot, that you're always tired, says he wishes you were happier. I've been trying to be better, going to therapy, spending more time with him, but the damage is done. Damage can be repaired, Richard, but it takes time and effort. Will you help me? Not as a nanny, but as his teacher. Help me understand what he needs." Sarah considers this carefully. "I'll do what's best for Tommy, but I need to know you won't disappear again when things get difficult." "I won't. I promise. Your promises didn't mean much before." Richard nods, accepting the rebuke. "Then I'll show you instead of telling you." Over the following weeks, Richard becomes a regular presence at school events. He attends parent-teacher conferences, volunteers for field trips, shows up for Tommy's class presentations. He watches Sarah work with his son, seeing the teacher she's become while remembering the caregiver she was. Tommy begins to open up, slowly at first, then more freely. He talks about his day at dinner, laughs at Richard's bad jokes, asks for bedtime stories. The walls he built around his heart start to crumble. One afternoon, Richard finds Tommy drawing at the kitchen table. The picture shows 3 figures: a tall man, a smaller boy, and a woman with auburn hair. "Who's this?" Richard asked, pointing to the woman. "Mrs. Sullivan. She's my favorite teacher. I wish she could have dinner with us sometime." Richard's heart skips. "Would you like that? Really? You'd let her come over?" "If she wants to." "But Tommy, there's something you should know about Mrs. Sullivan. She used to work for us when you were little. She took care of you." Tommy's eyes widen. "She did? She loved you very much, and I made a big mistake by making her leave." Tommy studies his drawing thoughtfully. "Is that why she always seems happy to see me?" "I think so, buddy." That evening, Richard calls Sarah. "Tommy would like you to come to dinner. So would I, if you're willing." Sarah is quiet for a long moment. "I'd like that, but Richard, I need you to understand something. I'm not coming back as your employee. I'm coming as Tommy's teacher, and hopefully as a friend." "I understand. And I can't be his mother. I can't fill that role again. It would be too confusing for him and too painful for me." "I know. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to be part of his life, in whatever way feels right." Sarah accepts the invitation, and the dinner is both wonderful and heartbreaking. Tommy chatters excitedly about school, showing Sarah his drawings and sharing his favorite books. She listens with the same attention she once gave him as a toddler, but there's a professional distance now, a careful boundary she maintains. As the evening ends, Sarah hugs Tommy goodbye. "Thank you for inviting me. I had a lovely time. Can you come back next week?" Tommy asked, hopefully. "We'll see, but I'll see you in school on Monday." After she leaves, Richard tucks Tommy into bed. "Did you have fun tonight?" "Yeah, Mrs. Sullivan is really nice. I wish she could stay longer." "Maybe she will, buddy. Maybe she will." But Richard knows it's not that simple. Sarah has built a new life, found her own path. She's not the young woman who once lived in their house and made their family whole. She's someone new, someone who's learned to protect herself from the kind of pain he once caused. As Richard turns off the lights, he realizes this is enough. Not the complete restoration he once dreamed of, but something real and precious. Sarah is back in Tommy's life, helping him heal and grow. And maybe, with time and patience, they can build something new from the ashes of what they lost. It's not the ending he wanted, but it's the one they all deserve.